Welcome back to another chilling episode of Beneath the Surface, the Dark Side of Crime. In today's story, we're diving deep into a mystery that has left everyone baffled: the strange case of the missing twins. A case where the truth behind their disappearance is as twisted as it is terrifying. Were they taken? Or is there something far worse lurking behind the shadows? From cryptic clues to shocking revelations, join us as we uncover the eerie details of this truly bizarre case. Chapter 1. The Disappearance. The morning of Harper and Henry Porter's disappearance had been ordinary. Evelyn had made them breakfast, a quick but hearty meal of pancakes and scrambled eggs, before sending them off to school. The twins were inseparable, their bond stronger than anything Evelyn had ever witnessed. Harper, the older of the two by just a few minutes, always took on the role of protector, watching over Henry with a fierce loyalty. Evelyn thought nothing of the usual goodbye, but it would be the last time she saw them. The hours ticked by slowly that afternoon as the sun hung low, casting a long golden light over the neighborhood. The school bell rang at 3:30 p.m., signaling the end of another school day. But when the clock struck 6 p.m., there was still no sign of her children. Evelyn's heart began to race, a nagging feeling of dread settling in her stomach. She called the school, only to be told that Harper and Henry had never been marked absent. They had left, just like always at the end of the day. The streets were empty. Her children were simply gone. Her first call was to her ex-husband, Derek. Then she reached out to the police, hoping they could ease her worry. But what followed next was a nightmare. Officer Nick Daniels arrived, but even his calm demeanor couldn't allay Evelyn's fear. As the hours turned to a full night of searching, a frantic, gut-wrenching dread settled into the town. What had happened to the twins? The search parties began, but there was no sign of the twins in the streets, no cries or sounds to give any indication of where they might be. Chapter 2. The search begins. The police station quickly turned into a hub of activity. Detective Olivia Maxwell was called in to assist, and her first impression of the case was unsettling. There was something about the disappearance of the twins that didn't sit right with her. It wasn't just that children had gone missing. It was the way they had disappeared. No witnesses, no one had seen anything unusual, and the most frustrating thing, no one had any idea what happened after school ended. The school footage revealed nothing. Just a normal day for any other child. Harper and Henry were there, and then they weren't. Olivia began to notice things that no one else did, the strange glances the locals gave when she asked certain questions. It was subtle, but there was a quiet tension that the town seemed to be holding on to. Every time she brought up the missing children to town members, their eyes would dart as though they were hiding something, some crucial detail they were unwilling to share. As she followed leads, she discovered something chilling. Harper and Henry had both been playing with a new toy in the days leading up to their disappearance, a hand-carved wooden doll, which Evelyn had found in a small old shop in town. The owner of the shop, Marcus Hale, had given the doll to Harper as a gift after a brief conversation. Olivia's instincts told her to dig deeper into Marcus Hale's background. Chapter 3. Cryptic Clues. Days passed with no real progress, but then the clues began to surface. A torn scrap of paper found near the school entrance was the first. Handwritten in a rushed, jagged scrawl were the words, "They know where you are. It's too late." At first, the cryptic message seemed like a pointless piece of paper discarded by someone with nothing better to do. But as Olivia considered it, she realized something. The paper had been torn from a larger sheet, and the message seemed too specific to be random. The next clue came a few days later. A neighbor's security camera had caught footage of two figures standing outside the Porter family's house the night before the twins disappeared. One of the figures was wearing a dark hoodie, the other a jacket that seemed to billow out in the wind. But the footage was grainy, and the figures were too far away to identify. It was at that moment Olivia realized something. These weren't just random events. Someone, or something, was orchestrating this entire situation. The missing twins weren't an accident. They were part of a much bigger picture, one that Olivia was determined to uncover, no matter what it took. Chapter 4. The Hidden Connection. Olivia's investigation led her to Raymond Foster. Raymond was a quiet man, never one to get involved with the town's social scene, but he was known for having strange habits. He had been in town for years, but there was something about him that made people uneasy. When Olivia discovered Raymond's troubled past, she felt a chill run down her spine. He had been accused of attempting to abduct a child years ago in a neighboring town. Though the case was never pursued due to a lack of evidence, the incident was enough to make him a person of interest. Olivia confronted Raymond at his home, but he denied any involvement in the disappearance of the twins. He claimed to have been home alone that afternoon, a statement that would later be questioned after further investigation. Olivia found no physical evidence linking him to the crime, but there was something in the air. It was a feeling of unspoken guilt. He was hiding something. But what? As she walked through Raymond's house, she found something that stopped her dead in her tracks, a collection of children's drawings, including sketches of Harper and Henry. At first glance, the drawings seemed innocent, but there was something disturbing about them. The faces of the twins in the pictures were drawn with sharp, exaggerated features, their eyes wide with fear. This was the first indication that Raymond's involvement in the case might not be as passive as he claimed. Chapter 5. Secrets of the Town. The deeper Olivia dug, the more she unearthed unsettling details about the town itself. Brookstone Ridge, a sleepy town with a population barely over 5,000, had a long history of strange events. Olivia's research led her to an old case, the disappearance of 2 other children nearly 30 years ago. The children were never found, but there were rumors, whispers about a cult operating in the area, a group that practiced mysterious, dark rituals. Of course, no one had ever publicly acknowledged these rumors. But the more Olivia spoke to older residents, the more she realized that Brookstone Ridge was far from the peaceful town it appeared to be. Marla Winters, an elderly resident who had seen it all, sat with Olivia one afternoon and shared her own theory. She believed that there was something evil lurking in the town, something hidden in plain sight. It was an unsettling thought, but Olivia couldn't ignore it. Chapter 6. A Mother's Guilt. Evelyn couldn't stop pacing. The house felt suffocating, each step a reminder of the emptiness that had settled over it. The toys the twins used to play with, the family photographs on the walls, all seemed like relics from another life, another time. A time when her children were safe, when the world made sense. The constant hum of the clock ticking seemed louder, almost mocking her. Hours passed in agonizing silence, and each time the doorbell rang, her heart skipped a beat. But it was never them. It was never the sound she longed to hear, their excited voices, the rush of footsteps, the warmth of their embrace. She picked up her phone again, scrolling through the pictures of the twins, smiling, laughing, their faces beaming with the pure joy of childhood. Then her finger hovered over a recent picture, one taken just before they went missing. The doll they had received from Marcus Hale was clearly visible in Henry's hands. Evelyn stared at it for a long time, her eyes tracing the worn-out edges of the doll. It seemed innocent, but now, with everything that had happened, it took on a sinister undertone. Had the doll been a warning? Had it been a sign of something she hadn't understood? She clutched the phone to her chest and let out a choked sob. Olivia had been kind, patient with her. But Evelyn knew it was time to confess something darker. She had been hiding a truth, one that kept gnawing at her from within. I've been hiding something, Evelyn admitted one evening, her voice trembling. A few days before they disappeared, I had a strange feeling. There was someone watching us, watching the children. It wasn't just the man at the shop, Marcus. There was someone else. Olivia leaned forward, her eyes sharp. What do you mean? Evelyn's face paled. She swallowed hard before speaking again. I saw him at the park one day. A tall man, dressed in all black. I thought nothing of it at the time, but there was something in his eyes. Something I can't explain. It was as if he knew something about my children. He kept staring at them. Tears welled up in Evelyn's eyes. I should have said something, I should have done something, but I was too afraid. I never told anyone. Olivia gently placed a hand on Evelyn's shoulder. It's not your fault. We'll figure this out. But as she said those words, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just a random disappearance. There was something bigger at play, and Evelyn might have just uncovered a vital clue. Chapter 7. The Shadowy Figure. Olivia's mind raced as she considered the new information Evelyn had provided. The mention of a tall man in the park was troubling, especially after everything she had uncovered about Raymond and the doll. It was as though a sinister web was slowly being spun, one that connected people in ways that Olivia had never anticipated. She went back to Marcus Hale, the shop owner. She needed to know more about the doll, about its origins, and about the strange connection it seemed to have to the twins' disappearance. Marcus was in the back of the shop when Olivia entered, organizing a shelf of dusty trinkets. He greeted her with a forced smile, clearly uncomfortable with the attention. "I'm sorry to bother you again, but I have a few more questions," Olivia began. "I need to know where you got the doll you gave to Harper and Henry." Marcus hesitated. "I've already told you it was just a gift. Nothing more." "I understand that. But there's more to this, Marcus. I have reason to believe the twins' disappearance is connected to it. That doll, it's more than just a gift, isn't it?" The air in the shop seemed to thicken as Marcus glanced nervously around. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. Olivia leaned in closer, her voice soft but firm. "Listen, Marcus, I know you're scared, but if you don't help me now, you might be part of something much worse. The twins are missing, and I need answers." Finally, Marcus sighed deeply and pulled out a small, worn box from behind the counter. He opened it to reveal several more dolls, each one almost identical to the one he had given to the twins. The only difference was the markings on the back of each doll. Tiny symbols carved into the wood, like a secret language. "This is why I gave it to them," Marcus whispered, his voice shaking. "They were chosen. I didn't know exactly why, but the dolls, they're part of something much older. Something dangerous." Olivia felt a cold shiver crawl up her spine. "What are you talking about?" Marcus looked around once more before speaking. "There's a group, people who believe in these rituals, these old symbols. They've been operating for years, right under our noses. They use children in their ceremonies, and they've been using me to help them. I didn't know it would go this far, but they've been watching Harper and Henry for months." Chapter 8. The Breakthrough. Olivia's mind reeled with the weight of Marcus's words. A cult, right under their noses, using children in rituals. It was too much to process. And yet the pieces seemed to fit. Everything. The dolls, the strange man Evelyn had seen, the growing tension in town, pointed to something far more sinister than she had imagined. Olivia and a team of officers immediately went back to the cabin in the woods. They searched it thoroughly, this time with the urgency of knowing that the twins could still be out there. Hours passed, and just as the sun began to set, a breakthrough came. They found a hidden trapdoor beneath the floorboards. It led them to a small, underground chamber. Inside, they found remnants of dark, ritualistic symbols scrawled on the walls, symbols similar to those on the dolls. And then, in the far corner, they saw them, Harper and Henry. They were unconscious but alive. Their bodies were bruised, their clothes torn, and their faces were marked with the emotional scars of their captivity. But they were breathing. They were free. As Olivia carefully lifted Henry into her arms, she whispered, "You're safe now. You're going home." Chapter 9. The Unraveling Truth. The moment Raymond was brought in for questioning, his entire demeanor shifted. He had been so calm before, so composed, but now, under the weight of the evidence, he cracked. He confessed to everything: the cult, the rituals, and the way he had been manipulated into bringing the twins into the fold. "They told me I had to do it," Raymond explained, his voice shaky. "They said it was the only way to save them, to save everyone. The twins were chosen. It wasn't my choice. It wasn't my fault." But Olivia wasn't buying it. She knew Raymond was trying to play the victim. He had participated willingly, had taken part in the ritual, and now he was paying the price for his involvement. The rest of the cult members were soon arrested, their dark practices exposed for all to see. But the truth was far more disturbing than anyone had expected. The cult's reach had been far wider than anyone had ever imagined, and there were still whispers of other children who had been taken. Chapter 10. The Final Revelation. The twins were brought back to their parents, but they were changed. Their quiet demeanor, their withdrawn eyes, spoke of the horrors they had endured. Harper and Henry clung to each other, their bond tighter than ever. They had been through something no child should ever experience. In the weeks that followed, Olivia continued to investigate the cult's activities. Every lead she uncovered seemed to point to a new person, a new connection. Brookstone Ridge had been a ticking time bomb, and now the town was waking up to the truth about what had been hiding in plain sight. But for Harper and Henry, the journey was far from over. They would have to find a way to heal, to move past what had happened. And for Evelyn, the mother who had once feared the worst and now faced the unimaginable reality, she could only hold her children close and hope they would find peace. Brookstone Ridge would never be the same. The town that had once been peaceful, quiet, and serene now bore the scars of the past. The secrets had been exposed. But at what cost? Lives had been forever changed. For Olivia, the case was far from over. There were still many questions left unanswered. But one thing was clear: Harper and Henry had been saved, and with that, the darkness that had plagued Brookstone Ridge had finally been brought to light. The truth is often stranger and darker than we could ever imagine. The case of the missing twins changed everything for Brookstone Ridge. The once quiet and peaceful town was forever scarred by the horrifying truths that had been unearthed. What had seemed like a typical small-town disappearance became the unraveling of a sinister conspiracy, revealing a hidden world of manipulation, control, and dark rituals that had been lurking under the surface for decades. Harper and Henry Porter were safely returned to their parents, but their ordeal left an indelible mark on their souls. The emotional and psychological scars would take years to heal, and while they were back in the embrace of their family, the effects of their trauma were visible in every silent glance they exchanged. No child should ever have to endure what they did, and yet they found strength in each other, a bond forged in the darkest of circumstances. As for Raymond Foster and the cult members who had been revealed as the true orchestrators of the abductions, justice was swift. Raymond's confession helped expose the extent of the cult's reach, but many other individuals involved in the operation remained elusive. Though some members were arrested and charged, the shadows of the group's influence stretched far beyond what anyone had initially imagined. Detective Olivia Maxwell, whose relentless pursuit of the truth had saved the twins, found herself haunted by the aftermath. The cult had been exposed, but the fear that lingered in the town was palpable. What other dark secrets had been kept hidden in the shadows? How many more lives had been manipulated, controlled, or harmed by the influence of this group? For Olivia, there was no easy closure. Her work was far from finished. Every lead, every conversation, every shadow she uncovered seemed to open the door to more questions. But one thing was certain: she would never stop searching for the truth, no matter how dark or twisted it became. Because in the end, the truth was the only thing that could bring justice, healing, and hope. Lessons learned. Trust your instincts. Olivia Maxwell's investigation was driven by her gut instincts. She could have easily dismissed the cryptic clues or assumed they were coincidences, but instead, she trusted her intuition. Her commitment to following those hunches ultimately led to the breakthrough that saved Harper and Henry. The lesson here is that sometimes your gut knows more than you realize. Evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. Brookstone Ridge seemed like a perfect small town, but the darkness beneath the surface proved that appearances can be deceiving. The town had harbored a secret cult that manipulated its most vulnerable. This story reminds us that evil can exist in places we least expect, and vigilance is necessary to uncover the truth. The importance of speaking up. Evelyn's hesitation to report the strange figure she had seen watching her children almost cost her everything. In the end, it was her willingness to open up to Olivia that provided critical insight into the case. It's a reminder that when something feels wrong, speaking up is essential. Whether it's sharing concerns with a trusted friend or law enforcement, silence can sometimes be a hidden danger. The power of family bonds. Despite the horrors they faced, Harper and Henry's bond as siblings was unshakable. Their connection to each other provided them with the strength to survive unimaginable trauma. Family, whether biological or chosen, offers a vital support system in the darkest of times. The psychological impact of trauma. While Harper and Henry's physical bodies healed after being rescued, the psychological trauma they faced was far more complex. Their experiences would stay with them forever, a reminder of how deeply childhood trauma can affect a person. This case underscores the importance of providing long-term emotional and psychological support for those who endure such traumatic events. The ripple effect of secrets. The cult in Brookstone Ridge had operated in the shadows for years, but it was only when its members' secrets were exposed that the community began to truly understand the scope of the damage. This story highlights the destructive power of keeping secrets and how transparency and honesty are essential for healing and prevention. Justice takes time, but it prevails. The road to justice for the missing twins was long and filled with false leads and dead ends, but in the end, the truth was revealed, and those responsible were held accountable. This serves as a powerful reminder that while justice may take time, it will ultimately prevail if we remain committed to the pursuit of truth. Thank you for joining us in this unforgettable journey as we uncovered the chilling truth behind the disappearance of Harper and Henry Porter. The darkness lurking in Brookstone Ridge has finally been exposed, but the scars left behind remind us of the lasting impact of hidden secrets. While justice has been served, the fight for healing continues. For the twins, for their family, and for the community that now knows the cost of silence. If you were captivated by this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Beneath the Surface, The Dark Side of Crime. Stay tuned for more gripping true crime investigations that will take you deep into the heart of humanity's darkest corners. You won't want to miss what's coming next. Remember, sometimes the truth is buried so deep, it takes everything to uncover it. Until next time, stay safe, stay vigilant, and always look beneath the surface.